Thanks for staying with us. Let's continue our discussion on the Eskom wage dispute with a response from the Power Utilities spokesperson, that's Sikonathi Mantshantsha, who joins me now via Zoom. Mr. Mantshantsha, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. And before we get to your thoughts of these claims made by NUMSA and the NUM, firstly give us an update on the current stage of the wage negotiations. Where are we?
The wage negotiations today were adjourned at the end of the day as had been scheduled. They are happening in 3 separate rounds. The first one started in the first week of May. The second one was 4 days, ending today. And the last and third round is scheduled to start on the 31st of May and will end on June 3. At this point, the parties are still not in agreement about anything. The unions have made demands of 15% increase in the basic wage. That's the two unions, National Union of Metal Workers and the National Union of Mine Workers. Solidarity has demanded a 9.5% increase in the basic salary. Eskom has rejected all of these as they are unaffordable and has instead tabled a 1.5 offer to increase the basic salary, and that has conditions. Those conditions are to reduce and change some of the conditions of the benefits currently enjoyed by employees where excesses have been identified in order to find the resources to fund this proposed increase of 1.5%. As I have said, this has been rejected by the trade unions.
I want us to shift gears now. The two unions, NUMSA and the NUM, are accusing Eskom of, or rather Eskom's board, of spreading lies. It appears that these talks are crumbling, given this apparent lack of trust and mudslinging. Is this a fair assessment of how the talks are going so far?
A fair assessment is that, and this is a fact, this evening the parties, all three trade unions, together with Eskom, agreed to continue their talks as planned, starting on the 31st of May, and that round is scheduled to end on the 3rd of June 2021. The parties are committed to finding an agreement in order to benefit the people of South Africa.
But judging by what NUMSA was saying a short while ago, we heard from their spokesperson, Pagamile Majola, it does give a sense of a deadlock. My question to you is, why is it so hard for both sides to actually find each other and come to a settlement or an agreement?
The issues with regards to Eskom are quite clear in the sense that everybody who is alive in South Africa knows this for a fact. Eskom has been making losses for many years. The last 3 years have been reporting losses of 20 billion rand and 21 billion rand and 15 billion rand. This year, ending March 2021, Eskom has already guided that it will report another net loss of 21 billion rand. It maintains its going concern status. In other words, it continues, it remains solvent as a result of the cash bailouts that have been forwarded by the government, paid by the taxes by the people of South Africa, without which Eskom cannot at this point maintain its going concern status. It has got outstanding debt at this point of just under 462 billion rand, which is not able to service on its own. It does not generate enough money to pay the 50 billion rand interest per year that is required to service that kind of debt. And as you know, the people of South Africa for far too long, for many years, have been asked and have been paying even higher and higher rates for electricity. Should the unions get what they want now, the people of South Africa will be pressed to pay even further for this outcome.
But what do you make of these accusations being raised by NUMSA, also accusing Eskom of peddling lies, saying that this claim that the average worker gets about 773,000 rand annually is simply not true? Are you in any way perturbed by these accusations that are being made by NUMSA?
Not at all. To make allegations, baseless allegations, the easiest thing anyone can do. However, the facts speak for themselves. Eskom relies on audited and published financial statements, which are presented year in, year out to the people of South Africa via Parliament as a start, an institution where nobody can lie under oath. And secondly, every year Eskom reports directly to the people of South Africa these audited numbers, which are available even to NUMSA and to everybody else. The facts are these. In the year ended March 2020, Eskom paid all its 44,744 employees a total amount in wages and benefits of 32.9 billion rand. That money was paid to 44,744 employees. People represented by trade unions are just under 30,000, a shade under 30,000. There are others in the bargaining unit, about 6,000 people who do not belong to trade unions. So of that 44,744 people, about 35,000 are people who will be affected by these wage talks today. And I repeat again, Eskom has paid 32.9 billion rand in total to all of its employees, the majority of whom are in the bargaining unit.
But now, looking at your statement, Eskom maintains that the demands made by unions are simply unaffordable. At this point, is there any more room to reach some level of compromise on the part of Eskom? I mean, when you look at reports, about 1.4 billion rand worth of assets belonging to former Eskom executive, Mr. Tlhakudi, don't these type of stories give workers the impression that the power utility actually has money?
A great question, sir. Let's start with the first one. The 1.5% increase that Eskom has offered in the basic wage, conditional on the labor unions accepting cuts where excesses have been identified in their current benefits, is Eskom's final offer. There is no money whatsoever to be able to meet any other demand, and Eskom has made this very clear to the labor representatives. There are, amongst the benefits enjoyed by the people working at Eskom today, there are many that are far in excess of what is normal in industry in South Africa, certainly in an economy that has been losing jobs, where people have had to endure salary cuts, and these are the people that are supposed to pay for this agreement that will be reached. So there is absolutely no way, there is no money for Eskom to meet any of the demands. Now, the case you've just mentioned about Mr. Tlhakudi, you mentioned, where the High Court has actually frozen assets belonging to himself and many other people, is one example of Eskom's attempts to recover and claw back money so that it can be made available to assist the operations and, where possible, lower the cost of electricity. This is an attempt by management which has laid criminal charges against many people that currently are employed at Eskom, maybe, and certainly many that were previously employed at Eskom, who have defrauded the people of South Africa through inflated tenders where they were complicit with suppliers. Eskom has laid more than 110 charges with the South African Police Service, criminal charges. It has also taken 60 of those to the NPA and to the Asset Forfeiture Unit, which is where you got that outcome of 1.4 billion rand being frozen. These are attempts by management to claw back and recover monies that have been stolen from the people of South Africa, which have contributed to the situation where Eskom is today.
So what Paramile Hlubi Majola said a short while ago is that they're willing to negotiate. They're willing to even move away from their 15% wage demand. Tell us what's next. Are these talks going to continue, or are they simply deadlocked at this point?
Again, the talks have not deadlocked. The parties have agreed this afternoon that they will meet to continue their negotiations as planned on the 31st of May to the 3rd of June 2021. the fact that the parties are still talking, it means the talks have not deadlocked. Let me again put this on the record for all to know. Since day one, when the trade unions, all three of them, made their demands known to Eskom, Eskom has said, please go back. These are totally unaffordable. Go back and come and present one demand that consolidate your demands as the trade unions and make it reasonable so that we can talk. That has not happened. The unions are today still demanding 15% increase in the wage, in the basic wage salary. The unions are still demanding today 6 months fully paid maternity leave. The unions are still hanging on to their demand for additional leave days, way beyond what is required in law in South Africa. And Eskom has said this is totally not affordable for a company that relies for its going concern status on cash bailouts from the very weary people of South Africa, who will be asked to pay for any settlement that results in these talks, for the very people who have had to endure ever-increasing prices of electricity to pay for these benefits and other inefficiencies, including, indeed, the corruption that has bedeviled Eskom over the past 10 to 12 years. Eskom is simply not in a position to meet these demands, and we have made that clear from day one. The unions have not moved from their 15% demand.
Now, before I let you go, people took to Twitter and other social media platforms this week voicing their frustration at the re-emergence of scheduled power cuts. This week we've had fewer power interruptions. Are we looking to have any more power cuts this coming weekend? Just give us an update on that.
Eskom has been quite consistent on this matter. We have, over the past 2 years, communicated that there will be increased risk of load shedding while reliability maintenance to restore the plants to an acceptable level of efficiency and reliability continues. And we will see a major difference towards the later part of this year. This being the winter means, in essence, that the risk of load shedding has increased even further. So there will indeed be at times occasions where Eskom has to implement load shedding, is forced to implement load shedding. That is our reality throughout this winter. However, I must again hasten to tell you that we have increased the amount of electricity available, which is why we are able to keep the lights on. We are supplying on average more than 32,000 megawatts of electricity every day, compared to, for example, in December or in October last year, when Eskom was only able to apply just under 28,000 megawatts. So that is the reliability maintenance that Eskom has been conducting, delivering results. We have delivered an additional 5,000 megawatts. There's probably room for another at most 2,000 megawatts during this winter that Eskom may be able to provide. So we may have 34,000 megawatts of capacity available. That is still not enough for you and I in Canada to say there will be no load shedding. So it is, we're not talking about this weekend, of course. It can be a ability of the man.
That was Eskom spokesperson Sikonathi Mantshantsha giving us his response to claims made by NUMSA and the NUM and other unions, saying that the parastatal is peddling lies. Now, after the break, we look at more news making headlines. Do stay with us.